The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Then Jesus and the disciples came to Capernaum, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with a demon. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Be silent, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this? A new teaching, and with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
By now you know how cute my dog Nemo is, how nice he is and friendly. He's got those little brown eyes and little tail, and the whole bum wags back and forth when he sees me, and how nice he is. He's so cute. You can see his picture at the back of the church. What you might not know is that Neiman is possessed. It's true. Every time he sees a dog coming, another dog, he turns into the Tasmanian devil. Doesn't matter if the dog is big or small, mean or friendly, barking or wagging its tail. Nemo will go nuts, snarling and biting and pulling and frothing at the mouth. He goes, sounds like a chipmunk on steroids. He goes crazy. He even barks at dogs on TV. It's hilarious. And horses and the Calgary Flames, as a matter of fact. So he's a good boy, that dog, yeah. One time, where I was walking Nemo out there on the trails out in Telford Park there, and there was another person walking their poodle. Nice little dog, about twice the size of Nemo. Came up to Nemo, wanted to play, you know. There he was. Ruff! He said, ruff, ruff. And Nemo immediately walked up to him and attached himself to his face. I had to crank him off, pull him away, and pray a Hail Mary that the dog's owner wasn't a lawyer. After this, and many other instances, I was worried about the little guy, you know, because I figured eventually Nemo's going to pick a fight that he ain't going to win, you know? He's only 13 pounds for crying out loud, not exactly a heavyweight. So I took him to the vet, and the vet said I should take Nemo to a dog therapist. I said, "You got to be kidding me, a dog therapist?" Sure enough, they get depressed dogs and angry dogs and dogs that think they're cats, weird stuff like that, you know, everything. Give them a little beef jerky flavored Prozac, that kind of thing. So I brought Nemo to the dog therapist, and she says, "Okay, let's see how he interacts with another dog." And I said, "He's going to attack another dog." "Well, let's see." He says, No, you don't understand. He will attack another dog." "Well, let's take a look and see." So she walks into the other room and comes back with a pit bull. All right, this thing is 70 pounds if it was a gram. Great big dog, but I think it was amped up on Howl Dog because it just went, Nemo, meanwhile, is going, he's just going crazy, you know? So she picks up the pit bull and turns him around so that Nemo can sniff his bum. Because, of course, that's how dogs get to know each other, right? No handshake, cut right to the chase. It's nice that humans don't greet each other that way, hey? But anyway, I digress. So she brings the dog over, and sure enough, Nemo chomps right into that dog's right cheek. And the pit bull goes, "What was that?" She figures better get him out of there, right? So she quickly takes the dog into the next room, comes back and says, "I think Nemo's dog aggressive." I said, "No kidding." So she asked me about Nemo's childhood now. Nemo and I are on the dog therapist couch, right? And I told her about how we found Nemo on the street. He was a stray, and that he had scars all over his face, probably from getting beat up from other dogs. And so she figured that that's probably why he acts that way. I thought, you're a genius. That's why he acts that way, like he's possessed. Because, of course, his past. He figures all dogs are going to attack him, so he needs to attack them first. That's the way it works. So in a way, that's his demon. That's his unclean spirit that inhabits my dog. It's his baggage, his past. I can relate personally. Some of you might remember on All Souls Day, I told you about the time when I was 2 years old, and I thought what a great idea it would be to take that Glad wire twist tie and insert it into that nice little wall socket there on the side of the wall, right? Of course, I don't remember much from the experience. Some of you are saying, ooh. Some of you are saying, oh. That explains everything, Father Mike. I don't remember much from it. My parents were downstairs, and they heard coming from upstairs, bang, 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 bang. So they ran upstairs, only to find in front of the wall socket the carpet was on fire, and I had been thrown 20 feet through the air, landing upside down on the couch in the living room, saying, whoa. So my parents went, ah! And then so I went, ah! And they rushed me to the hospital. I had third-degree burns on my thumb, which is why it's stunted to this day. I have my hobbit thumb so I can smite you when I get mad at you. There you go, I squished your head. So there you go. And after that incident, I was terrified of flashing lights, flash photography, gadgets and gizmos, anything that blinked. I freaked out. Arms and legs flailing, screaming and shouting, temper tantrum, went crazy, the whole 9 yards, like I was possessed by my baggage, my past, my fear. Same as Nemo is possessed by his fear. Do you remember what I told you, what the devil's number one tool is? What was it? Fear. There aren't too many real demonic possessions like we heard in the gospel today, nowadays, with actual demons inhabiting people, or like we see on the movie The Exorcist or anything like that, a really scary movie. But we also have to remember that back in Jesus' time, they called just about everything possession. Possession or leprosy. They had two wings in the hospital, basically. The possession wing and the leprosy wing. Everything was called possession back then. If you had epilepsy, you were possessed. If you couldn't talk, you were possessed. If you're in a bad mood, possessed. You know, cough due to cold, possessed. Dandruff, possessed. Women, no, I better cross that one off. Don't tell that one today. No. Dear Archbishop Smith. Yeah, no, I'll take that one off. And quite often our possessions aren't about supernatural forces. They're just about our fears. This happens to a lot of people, I would say, even nowadays. In fact, I would say that probably everybody here is possessed by some baggage that you carry. Keeps us from thinking straight. Keeps us from seeing things as they actually are. You know, makes us do things that don't make any sense to us. You know? Even makes us do things that seem to be out of our control. We don't know why we do them. We just keep doing them. Dr. Phil would call it being controlled by your unconscious motivations. For example, say some fellow cannot help but discriminate against, say, native folks. Because they're all thieves, or drunks, or liars, or losers. It's probably because he had a bad experience with a native long time ago, or somebody he knows had a bad experience. If some woman keeps falling for the wrong guy over and over and over again, it's often because she got hurt once a long time ago, maybe by dad or grandpa or something like that. Someone she trusted, and she's still carrying the scars, trying to repair the wound, trying to get it right this time. If somebody just doesn't have any patience, no matter how they try with, I don't know, Calgary Flames fans. It would be because we just can't get over the time when the Oilers lost to the Flames in the '89 series when we scored on our own net. Oh, that just drives me crazy. Or maybe they're impatient in traffic, as I am. Might have something to do with needing to be in control all the time, which I do. Or it might have something to do with being in 3 car accidents in their first year of driving, which I was. Here's a special example. A lot of people are possessed with this particular demon. It's called an overactive conscience, a hyper-developed conscience. I'll tell you what I'm telling about. Now, for most people, our conscience is just that little voice in the back of our heads telling us the difference between right and wrong, you know? Remember Pinocchio? Who was his conscience? Jiminy Cricket, exactly. Just a little green guy, harmless, sits on our shoulder, says, do this, don't do that, don't steal that cookie from the cookie jar, be nice to Geppetto. If you lie, your nose is going to grow, that kind of thing. But for some of us, our conscience, our little Jiminy Cricket, has grown into Darth Vader, sitting on our shoulders with lightsaber drawn, ready to cut our heads off with guilt if we aren't perfect, if we don't get 100% in the math test, if we don't clean the house perfectly, if we aren't the president of the corporation, if we don't win every sports event, if we aren't the perfect Catholic. And then because we're so hard on ourselves, guess what happens? We become very judgmental of everybody else around us. So if you've ever wondered why you're so critical of other people, can't seem to help yourself but judging them all the time, this might have something to do with it. And for some people whose superegos are just way overdeveloped, sometimes they go the complete opposite direction just to rebel against that Darth Vader and do something completely insane like hold up a bank or become a serial killer. Most of us, Darth Vader just stays perched up there, making our lives miserable, preventing us from being happy, telling us that we're wrong, even doing things that aren't wrong at all. They're perfectly fine. This is Darth Vader, and he doesn't come from nowhere. We learn it. Sometimes we learn that Darth Vader from mom and or dad. I am your father. That's the whole reason for that. Sometimes we learn it from setting goals and dreams that are just way too high for us to ever reach. Sometimes we learn it from some failure we've had in the past that was so traumatic, so devastating, that we can never let that happen again. Fear. All comes down to fear. So there are a lot of demons, a lot of unclean spirits running around unconsciously inside of ourselves, controlling us. And we all have them. And you know what? We can't cure them ourselves either. Not alone. We need Jesus to come along and heal us. So perhaps this weird scene in the gospel today with Jesus and the possessed man, maybe it's not so far off after all. But here's the crazy thing. The way that Jesus overcomes the demons is also the way he does it in the gospel. Jesus comes to this possessed man as the one thing that's going to make him freak out the most. That's how Jesus is going to heal us too. That's how he healed me when I was a kid with my fear of flashing things, remember? Jesus came to me when I was 4 years old in the person of my dad's friend, Father Walter Fitzgerald, who was into all kinds of fancy gadgets and gizmos and electronic stuff. And one day he brought this huge gadget, brand new invention back in 1975, gigantic thing that you hook up to the TV called a VCR. Never heard of anything like it before, right? So he's hooking this thing up to the TV, and right on cue, I go nuts. Arms and legs flailing, screaming at the top of my lungs, head spinning around, pea soup everywhere, talking in Latin backwards, the whole 9 yards. And Father Fitzgerald stopped what he was doing. He looked up at me, and he kept on doing what he was doing. ignored me, basically. A pastor approach which I have found very effective myself to this very day. Well, after about 10 minutes after he was finished hooking this thing up, and I saw that I wasn't going to be electrocuted again or thrown across the room, followed with my parents freaking out, I calmed down because I was forced to face my fear. I had overcome it. And I stared blankly into the TV screen, and I've been staring blankly into the TV screen ever since. It wasn't fun to go through, being cured of my fear, having my demon exorcised, but it works. It's about overcoming our demons by facing them with someone who loves us enough to go through it with us. I always find it hilarious when people ask God for patience. That cracks me up when you guys come to me in confession, God, please give me patience. I just laugh at you when you do it. Because guess how God is going to give you patience? Like if you're impatient in traffic, for example. God will teach you patience in traffic by putting you in a traffic jam every day, bumper to bumper, for the next 5 years. You won't even be able to move until you learn that it doesn't matter that we get there on time. It's not worth it. It's not worth the aggravation. It's not worth the energy. That's the way God works. Because He's a funny guy, that God. If we're prejudiced against natives, God will remove our prejudice by making our boss at work the nicest First Nations man you have ever met in your life. And as for my dog Nemo, well, he's going to exercise his demon, and he already is to some extent, with a muzzle and a choke chain and meeting as many dogs as he possibly can. Chica from Marge Lefebvre's house, Slapshot from the Lemaires, Daisy from the Smith's house, Maggie, my parents' dog, one at a time, one after another, after another, after another, freaking out, but then calming down, realizing he's not going to get beat up. Everything's going to be okay. And then he's back to normal again. Chipmunk on steroids, gone. Now it's just happy little Nemo with his tail wagging. And that's the way it works, folks. That's the way God works. If we want Him to, if we want Him to help us with these stupid things that we do and we don't know why we do them, Jesus will come to us and show us why. He'll make us face our fear, and He'll do it with love. In fact, if I may swear in church just this once, Jesus is going to love the hell out of us. Because as the first letter of John said, perfect love casts out all fear. The perfect love of God, who is love. Amen.